Hello everybody. Welcome to the Stream Key podcast. We are starting with I have a brand new laptop here, so it took us a little bit to get started, but we finally have it all up and running, technical sides all around today. But we're here, guys. Hope you all are doing well. This is our weekly show at TRUgaming where we talk with streamers on Twitch how to level up your streaming game and improve each week. And this week, finally able to have ShinoSeven on the podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Took a while, but we got there. We managed.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's tough because we do it doing weekdays and people got to work, have real lives. But
oh yeah, for sure.
Happy to have you on, dude. Finally. But yeah, so if you guys haven't seen the show before, the way this works is for the first 40 minutes or so, it'll be me and Shino talking about the sort of topic of the week, which this week is, you can't really put it into one word. It's a couple things: VODs, collections, highlights, and YouTube. All that range of things right there. Shino has some experience in that. We're going to break that down and get into his advice for you guys on that. And then the last third of the show for the 20 minutes will be Q&A with you guys for any questions you have about this topic or anything else related to streaming for Shino or myself. We'll help you guys out. So thanks for being here and stick around with us. Real quick though, I want to introduce Shino to you guys, or Shino, maybe you can introduce yourself. What is your channel all about? What do you do on Twitch? How long have you been doing this?
Yeah. Hi guys. I've been doing this for about 2 years, a little bit more than 2 years. My channel is like pure variety. I play literally everything under the sun. However, I do have a preference for MMOs. So I've been playing a lot of those recently. And every year on October, I do Horror Month, like basically every streamer on Twitch. But I try to give it my own spin, my own look at it. And then, so for the entire month of October, I've been streaming about a horror game a day so far because they're pretty short. That's basically it. My community is about 3,000 people strong.
Wow.
I'm blessed. I'm truly blessed.
Awesome.
Super happy.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned the horror stuff because I feel like a lot of people do that. But it's good. It works. And it's exciting to watch, especially like horror games in particular are really entertaining on Twitch because, it's always going to be really funny reactions and stuff. Cool.
It is.
Sorry, when did you say you started on Twitch again? Just so I can get that context.
About 2 years ago. So it was like July 2016.
Okay, 2 years. Wow. Awesome. Did you always kind of do MMO stuff, or is that more of like a recent trend?
It's more of a recent trend. It's kind of weird because the way it started off is I was a pure one game streamer for about 3 months. I streamed only Overwatch. That's when I started. Then it started to lose that shine to me. I couldn't deal with the game anymore. So I wanted to try something else. So I went variety. It worked for a bit, but then I figured, you know what, I'm going to go and do a thing that I called MMO Discovery Day, which I played like a different MMO every week on like Friday, for example. And then I would give my impressions in that MMO and then move on to the next week to another MMO. And I did that for like a few months. A bunch of people were super interested, but then a bunch of new games started coming out. I started feeling like better about my stream and more confident in my abilities. So I started to go really full variety. And recently I had that hitch again of playing MMOs and I decided, you know what, I'm going to give it another shot. So I went back to MMOs. I went back to World of Warcraft, which I had been playing for a while now. Started streaming that, tried to give my own spin on it. And then recently again I got the itch to change games and I've just especially with Horror Month, to play something more varied, because a lot of people, like my community is kind of split. Like a lot of people will love MMOs and the other one loves me playing a bunch of different stuff. So I'm trying to balance it out. It's pretty weird. I'm in a weird position right now where I need to appease both camps. And I have very little time to do it. So yeah.
Yeah, that situation I think happens to basically anyone who ever streams more than one game at a time. Even if you're still a single game player, but maybe you have like 1 day a week where you play an MMO or something, you always get those people coming in the chat and saying like, play this game, Yeah,
no, exactly. So yeah, it's a hard balance to strike, but I'm figuring it out. Like I'm learning every day, so it will depend, but yeah, I'm feeling good about it this year. Yeah.
Awesome. Love to hear that. So keep going through some warm-up questions here. I always ask people, what's the story behind your username? And yours is kind of interesting to me, ShinoSeven. Like, where did that come from? What's it mean? What's the story there?
So Shino or Shino is essentially, well, I pronounce it Shino. It's a Japanese. It's a Japanese first name. It's a name that can be used for girls or boys. So I'm in love with the Japanese culture. I freaking love it. So when I started making characters in games and stuff, I started giving it a Japanese name, and I was looking for a name that I could use on both male and female, depending on what game I was playing. So whenever a game would pop up, I would just be able to have my name and it would fit. So I went with that. And as for the 7 part, it's kind of weird. Like, people will be like, oh, and it must be your lucky number or something. But no, it really isn't. Like, the only reason why is because when I started streaming, Shino was already taken, and I was in a situation where, like, I was like, okay, I want to have like this cool, like, I had this idea in my mind, like, I'm gonna have like this super cool logo thing, and it's gonna be like Shino, and then next to the O at the end, 7 looks like somebody making a salute. So I used that for a while, and then I figured out that I didn't like it as much, but I liked the sound of ShinoSeven. So what I did is I just like replaced it with a spelled out name, and it kind of stuck. And now I can't imagine being called anything else. Like, it's part of me now. Yeah. So but yeah, it was like all part of like trying to create the brand. When I first started streaming, like, I was like trying to fit like what kind of streamer I wanted to be and what kind of image I wanted to project to people, and get that all together, and trying to gel it into something cohesive.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. I like the sound of it, like ShinoSeven. It's very alliterative with the 2 S's.
Yeah.
Also, so you're saying that the logo you have, I know you updated your logo recently. Is that actually the character for Shino in Japanese?
It is. It is.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's she, no, and then the actual Latin number 7.
That's so cool. I didn't make that connection, but I love hearing stories like that, so you can actually realize like what that actually is. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet. All right, my last kind of warm-up question for you here before we get into the meat and potatoes is, do you have a favorite streaming moment on Twitch, or a favorite memory of sorts?
Yeah. I thought about it because before we start the stream and stuff, like, I was like trying to figure out like what kind of questions and stuff you might ask, and what kind of things that I could like ponder about like my previous streaming experiences. And I got to my first, after 6 months streaming, my first like birthday stream that I did. And it was my first 24-hour stream as well. And I did that, and we played like a bunch of different games and stuff. And the support that I had, like, I went from like maybe like a 4 viewer average to like a 50, 60, 70, 80 viewer on that specific stream.
Wow.
Because I was playing like, a horror game, and then I was playing something else, and people were just like staying in there, and I got like a bunch of hosts and stuff. And it was like my first big viewership moment. And it really like, it just, to this day, like, it's one of my favorite moments, because nowadays, like, I will get those numbers again sometimes, but the very first time you get it after starting streaming, the very first time you see your numbers like swell up, like, it's always special. Like, it's really something else.
Yeah, I totally know exactly what you mean. Like, that first time you get that taste of, like, first it's double digits, and then it's like approaching triple digits, like, you just get your mind blown.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have that exact same memory for me too. So it's cool when everybody kind of gets that experience at some point.
Yeah.
Love that. Okay, cool. So let's get into the main discussion for today, which again is the VOD system, mostly on Twitch, and also touching a little bit on YouTube if we have time here. But first of all, the reason why I wanted to touch on this is because we were working out some ideas for the topic for today, and you mentioned that you actually worked with Twitch, or you were interviewed by Twitch on this system because you use it so much. So like, what's the story there? How did that all happen, and how'd the interview go?
Well, it was weird to me too, honestly, because you know, being contacted by somebody that works at Twitch, it does not happen often for a streamer. Like, it's not something, unless like it's your giant streamer and then you have to like, you know, talk to them on the regular. So what I started doing is I saw other streamers not use the VOD system, but use something similar in the way that they were making their YouTube channel more like an archive of the content that they have on Twitch. So I saw that, and I was trying to figure out a way to make this a lot easier for me. So I took a look into the eyelining system, and some stuff wasn't working for me, but I kind of sort of managed to use it. And I was using it so much, and so very little people use it, that Twitch contacted me and they're like, hey, like you're one of our top user of that system. And would love to ask you some questions and stuff. So I was contacted by the actual head at YouTube that takes care of the entire tool. So like the guy, the main programmer guy, and then like it was him in an office with a laptop and one or two other people. I don't remember. I think it was one other people there, and they were just like asking me questions about like how I'm using it, exactly like in the minutia, like, oh, like this tiny thing, like, do you think it works or not, and that kind of stuff. And it was super interesting. Lasted about like 30 minutes to an hour, and then that was basically it. Like I gave my suggestions, and then they implemented a lot of that stuff. But they were like, I don't want to take credits for anything, because like they were already planning that stuff, but it's more like validating where they were going with that kind of stuff. So it was really interesting. They contacted me through Twitter. Actually, I received like a Twitter message, and at first I was like, oh, what's the, like, is he really a guy that works at Twitch, or like is this a scam or something? And then I looked it up, and it was actually like a real Twitch person. So it was super cool.
Huh, that's awesome. So just to clarify, this was an online thing, I assume,
an online
right?
thing, yeah, through Discord, yeah.
Okay, because the way you said it, like with 3 people there, I was thinking like maybe they brought you in or something, but
no, I live way too far. Imagine them flying me over for an hour and then like flying back. That would be a bit too much.
All right. So during the actual interview, like, did you have anything that you suggested that you've seen now come out? Because when was the interview that this actually happened?
It was a while ago. I want to say April of this year.
I think that since then they've had some things come out, at least in terms of like being able to mark, add the time marker. That's one thing for sure. I know is on VODs as well as the live dashboard. Yeah. Is there an example like that of something you suggested that you saw actually come out and be published?
I had a lot of issues with like the way like the actual system was working out for me. Like, because what I like to do is when I go in there, I like to be able to just like type in the exact timestamp of where I want it to be, and then press a button, and it's like, okay, this is a timestamp for the start, and then that's a timestamp for the exit of that cut that I want to make. And it wasn't working properly. Actually, it was even like recently they even tweaked it even better, because it used to be that when you put it in, Twitch would give you like, oh, this is your cut plus like 13 seconds for no reason. And so that's kind of stuff that we discussed. There was that I'm happy that they've implemented, that they tweaked it, so now it's like the actual cut that you want instead of like an extra. There was another thing too where like there were you couldn't, like, the way it was working at first is you didn't have like right now when you do a VOD, it's on the left side of the screen, but it used to be like it's on the right. You had like the every new clip that you made, but you couldn't change anything in there. It was like all at the end that you had the option to change things if you wanted, but you couldn't like edit the names on the fly or like make some tweaks even in the timestamps there. You had to like wait at the very end, that it would be like a confirmation window, then you would be able to go through and stuff. And that was kind of it just create like, it was just so much longer for no reason. And that's kind of the kind of stuff we talked about, and that's the kind of stuff that they modified. And yeah, I'm super pumped now, because like every time I go to work on there now, it's a blessing. It goes super quickly. And yeah, so they're super, they listen a lot. Like you even see sometimes like I have an issue and I just post it on Twitter, and the same guy that interviewed me just like answers me, and he's like, oh yeah, well, you know, we're working on that, or, you know, oh, that's a good point, we'll just like keep it on. They actually even told me recently that they might bring me again on for like a follow-up to that, just be like, okay, now that we've changed all that stuff, how do you feel about the other, like these other changes that we might do or something? And so yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah,
that's really cool that they're being so interactive with you guys too, and looking for actual feedback from real streamers that use it a lot. I love that. I know exactly what you're talking about with like how it would just randomly add, or, you know, add time at the beginning or the end of what you're trying to highlight for no apparent reason. That's mostly gone now, thankfully. It's still there a little bit, but it's definitely gone better, like you said. So thanks for suggesting that, I guess, if you helped out with that. Cool. We will circle back around to the interview as this discussion goes on. But I want to cover kind of generally this topic, because you mentioned to yourself, right? Like this thing doesn't get used that much by people, highlighting in this whole system. So for people who maybe want to start using it, or maybe they're not sure how it all works, like what's the benefit to it? What would you tell people who want to start using it? Like what would you say is the best way to use it when you're getting started?
Okay, so the way I look at it is, if you're not planning on using it, like if you already don't think it's something for you, then don't start using it for the sake of using it. It's more like, ask yourself what that tool can do for you, and then try to make it work that way. For me, I wanted an archive. I really wanted an archive of all my previous videos. I didn't want to be in a situation where like, oh, if after a number of days it just goes away and then it's never to be seen again. And I've seen other big streamers, like I said, do that stuff, like use it as an archive, but not on Twitch, but on YouTube. They were using YouTube as an archive. So I wanted that same thing, but I wanted it on Twitch. So what I did is I realized that when you highlight anything, it could be a 4-hour highlight if you want to, that thing stays forever. Like it never goes away. So that was the like the seed of what I ended up doing with it. So at first, all I wanted to do was like, I highlighted all my streams, like a 4-hour or 5-hour, like big ass clip. And I would use that, and I would save it under a name, like stream for whatever date. And that was it. Like, and just that stayed there forever. So when you start, what I started to do was that. Then I figured out like 4 or 5 hour chunk is way too much for anybody, especially if you jump between games, like you finish a game and then you start another. It's really kind of, it's not super useful for people. Also, try to remember, like if you're on a different browser and I'm at work or somewhere else, and you're like, oh, where was I in that playthrough? Was I at 3 hours and 15 minutes or 3 hours and 25 minutes? And then you have to jump around and stuff, and it's super annoying. So what I ended up doing is I cut them up in chunks. So like tiny chunks of like about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And then I would call them episodes. And so so that's what I started doing. And I started removing like parts that I didn't like. So like the whole start with the countdown and the music, then like, because that doesn't need to be there, especially if people just want to watch the thing. And then bathroom breaks and all that stuff. Like I could just like chop them and just put them together and stuff. So if you never used the system before and you're like, oh, you know what? Like I kind of like that idea. I kind of like the idea of people being able to rewatch my stuff, and instead of it being lost in the ether, or even yourself, rewatch yourself. Watching yourself is a really good tool to just improve on your stream. So I would say try to use the tool in that sense. Try to make it like an archive of your stuff, instead of just like, because a lot of people will use the tool. I know I'm all over the place, by the way. I know a lot of people use the tool, the way they use it as like a clip place. So it's only like funny moments, and that's fine if you want to use it that way. But if you really want to make it more like a thing where like people will take time and spend time in that section of your stream, because it's a whole section of your profile that a lot of people are just not using. Use it as an archive tool. Try to chop it up into pieces if you want to, but just really try to make it like essentially, right? Worth the setting. You worth just your time and stuff. So it's another way for you to promote your content without being online. Like, people will just be on your channel if you're not online, and instead of just watching whoever you're hosting, they can just go back and rewatch your stuff. So that's the way I started using it. So I chop it up into episodes, and then I put it together into what they call on Twitch collections. On YouTube, it would be playlists. So you just put it into a collection, and I'm like, okay, this is like my playthrough for that game, and the entire thing is in there. And then I have like my playthrough for another game, and then the entire thing is in there too. And so people, when they come to my channel, they can just click on collection. They have all the games that I played. They can just click on it. They have like the entire playthrough thing separated in episodes. They can clip parts that they like from those. Like, it's a really cool system. And yeah, that's essentially the way I'm using it, and that's the way I would approach it too if I were like starting up as a streamer. I would use that as a way to promote myself and promote my content even when I'm offline. Like, just essentially like what a YouTuber does. Like, a YouTuber will have his most recent video, but he has all these other videos. So when you're done watching that most recent one, you're like, oh, I wonder what else he did. And then you go back and you watch that other stuff, and you're like, you're loving it. And then you just want to stay there.
Just binge through it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that, because Twitch is particularly hard to grow because you have to be live pretty much the whole time that you want to be doing something. Whereas pretty much every other social media, like, there's some sort of content that lives beyond like just that moment. Like, if you put a YouTube video up, you can watch it a year later and still get the same experience. Like, Twitch is not that same with VODs and stuff. So I like that point a lot. And I think streamers can use YouTube in that way in conjunction with Twitch. I also like you said about, watching your own content. I think especially if you're just starting your stream, you might find that you like to go back and watch your own stuff a lot, which I felt that definitely when I started. So if you highlight it like Shino, right?
Shino, yeah,
said
Shino.
Here, it'll be there forever. So like, let's say 2 years down the road, you can go back and look at like when you just started streaming, what that was like. Yeah. Personally, I think that's a really cool reason to use highlighting. But like you said, it's also good for letting people who maybe they couldn't be at a stream or they want to catch more content. Some really crazy loyal viewers are out there who like that stuff. So go check that out. Sweet. I did a question. So you do these long episodes, right? Where you cut a stream into segments and put it on, highlights as well as YouTube. How long are those episodes usually? Because I know they were longer before, but what are they at now? Right
now, I try to make it 30 minutes. Sometimes it's kind of hard because it doesn't fall perfectly. So like I try to be between 20 and 30 minutes. Usually 30 minutes is the cutoff point. On YouTube, I know that YouTube likes longer videos. The YouTube algorithm will try to push videos are over 10 minutes. On Twitch, as far as I can tell, it doesn't seem to be a thing like that. So to me, like a manageable format, like a 5-minute cut would be ridiculous. Like, especially longer streams and stuff, it would just be stupid. Even with 30 minutes, I end up with like playthroughs that are like 60 episodes long or even more. So 60 times 30 is a long time to be playing a game. So I don't want to go and be like, oh, here's the playthrough. Watch like these 2,000 videos of that playthrough. That would just be ridiculous. Like nobody would want to even, like, it's too much content. People would just be turned off by it. But having like, is more manageable format, not too long, but not too short. Like 30 minutes, I feel is a good cutoff point. Maybe 20, like if you really, really want to push it, but like 30 minutes to me felt right, and still today feels right.
All right, so when you're doing these highlights and putting them on YouTube and putting them into collections people can watch through, is it mostly just like kind of for yourself to have more content out there, or like have you really found some viewers or community members who like to go through and look forward to that kind of thing?
I've been using it for a little while. It's not, my channel is not that big, so it's kind of harder for me to be like, oh yeah, like hundreds of people have been asking me about like that playthrough. But it just sort of happens that a lot of people, when they come to your channel, and I'm sure other streamers out there have the same thing, like, oh, have you ever played that game? And you're like, oh yeah, I played that like, you know, 2 years ago or something, and then so you don't want to play it again. But people are keep asking you if you played it, and you're like, okay, well, I guess at some point in the future I'll replay it for those people. But like having it cut up that way, I can always point people like, oh yeah, I did, and it's in the VODs, and it's like there's this like collection thing with like 30 episodes. You can go and you can watch the whole thing. So yeah, some and the more I talk about it, the more it's being used. Like it's not only like a thing where like even streamers don't know that this exists. Most of all, like most of them will just like look at collection tab. They're just like, I don't know what that is, and then they move on to like other stuff. It's the same for viewers. It's the same problem. Nobody knows it exists. Like it's not well enough pushed in the foreground for people. So the more I talk about it, the more I see an increase in viewership over these VODs. And I do have people that tell me, oh, I miss your stream because like I can only come into your stream at the last hour of the stream because because I just came back from work because I live in, you know, somewhere else in the world, but then I'm going to bed, so they have to like, they only see like 1 hour, and then they're wondering like what happened before, what did I miss and stuff. So I always tell them like, oh well, I got the VODs, everything's ready, good to go. You can just like click on that, everything is chop up in like 30 minutes increments and stuff. And the more and more and more I get new viewers and new people and stuff, the more I see an increase in viewership over there, and like more people talking about it and using it. So yeah, it's just a matter of like, if you start using it at first, you won't see that big of a difference, obviously, because maybe your channel is not big enough, maybe your viewers are not into watching VODs. That happens. I've got viewers that like, they're like, oh yeah, but I prefer seeing it live, so they don't like watching past me talk about stuff. They'd rather watch me live. And then it's like I said, it's something that's just not known. Like nobody knows it exists, so people will not randomly stumble upon you through that. But I think Twitch is working on something right now where like they're gonna push those VODs like in the foreground, so like people can just like when they search for a game, they see like who's streaming it live, but also who has VODs of that game, so they can go and be like, oh, that's super interesting, we're gonna try and catch him live next time or something.
Yeah, even on the front page they've started featuring VODs and clips and stuff more often, which is cool.
Yeah.
But so I think something you mentioned there is important. I think, would you say that you use these, you know, clips and YouTube and highlights, these are basically resources for your existing community to get more of you, right?
Yeah.
This is not something where like you put it on YouTube and then you expect to grow viewers on YouTube just out of nowhere, right? This is more
no,
of
exactly.
Like,
no.
If my Twitch viewers want more content, you can go here to see it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's important.
Right now, that's the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like you said, if people are just getting started with this, you don't have the expectation that like this will grow you an audience, right? This is you just giving your existing audience more content. Exactly.
And I think that's a thing too. Like I've seen some bigger streamer do that. Like they lock their VODs behind like sub. So like what they do is they lock that up behind subbing, and then with the expectation that like, well, if people want more content, they can just pay for it and then they'll have access to it. Maybe that works for bigger streamers. I'm a fairly small streamer. I'm not big by any stretch of the imagination. So to me, that just sounds greedy. Like even if I was super big, and like I think I would never do that. Like I much prefer having this accessible to everyone and treat everybody the same. Like you've been here for 10 years, or you've been here for like, you've been on my channel for like an hour, you are both deserving of my time, and you're both deserving of my content and being able to watch it and stuff. So what I would suggest, if you're starting up, don't do that. Don't look like anything behind a paywall, because people, first of all, it turns people away right away. Like they're just like, oh yeah, F that dude. Like no, I don't have that kind of money to spend right now, so no. And if you want like that one viewer that came in, liked your stuff, and be like, oh, you missed the rest of the playthrough, go and give me money so you can see it again. Like, it's just, no, that just doesn't work.
Yeah, I totally agree. And actually, this gets to me because when I do sponsorship applications, like, you go through VODs, look at people, right? Because you can't, like, this is for any company. If you're trying to look at someone for potential sponsorship, you can't be there live all the time. You're not gonna be able to get to that for every single person who applies. So you have to use VODs. And if that person has their VODs behind a subwall, they're just automatically out because there's no way you can look at their content. So guess that's it. So don't do it. The only reason I've ever heard a good reason to have a subwall is the H3 podcast. If you guys know that, they used to have people who would steal their content and put it on YouTube before they could and make money off of it. So
okay, yeah, that
they
makes
locked
sense.
it, yeah, to avoid that, which makes sense. That's literally the only ever instance I've heard of a good reason to have a subwall or a paywall for subs to watch your VODs. Don't do it, guys. I agree with Shino here. Cool. We're getting deep on this. I love this. So, okay, we talked about highlighting collections a good bit here. I think we can also kind of work through YouTube, just sort of because, again, I think maybe people even use highlights in collections, probably more highlights on Twitch. But, like, you know, they know they should be on YouTube. They don't really know what they should be doing with YouTube, or it's too much work. What's kind of your game plan with YouTube, with how you use your highlights? And, like, do you basically just put content on YouTube via highlights, or do you upload stuff outside of your stream or edited stuff as well?
So when you're starting off, and you depending on how, like, really the first thing you should ask yourself is what kind of content creator you want to be. So if you want to focus on streaming, you won't have time to do the stuff on YouTube and edit stuff and do all that stuff. Like, right now, like, I'm working a 40-hour job. I stream every night, or most nights. Like, I think I take like two nights off. That's easily like 60-hour to 70-hour of work per week. That's not anything. That's just me cutting up highlights and stuff. I do that on my lunch break. So, like, everything that you guys see, like, on YouTube posted by me, on Twitch posted by me, it's just me cutting up stuff during my breaks at work because I don't have any other time to do it. You won't have time to do everything that you want to do. It's almost impossible. So you have to prioritize where you want the work to be and what kind of content creator you want to be. So for me, the way I saw my content when I'm offline was more like an archive of my own streams, because that's what I want to be. I want to be a streamer. I want to be a full-time streamer. So I work towards that goal. I don't want to be a YouTuber. That was never the point. So I take my highlights that I have on YouTube, on Twitch, and then I export them into YouTube, and then from there I just make the same exact template that I have from one to the other. So, like, on YouTube, you'll see, like, there's playlists instead of collections, but it's the same deals. Like, I have a playlist with, like, X game, and I just put it there. The reason why I'm doing both, some people told me that they don't like using the Twitch app, or they don't like using collections. They prefer, they love watching YouTube.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's why I have both. So that way somebody based on preference can watch it in one place or the other. That's fine with me. I don't mind. Now, if you really, really want to go, like, let's say that you really want to be like a mix between the two. You don't stream that often, but you really want to make stuff on YouTube, and you want to try to grow a channel on YouTube as well. But, like, then go for it. If you have time to spend on that, just go for it. Make like highlight rolls of like funny moments and stuff, edit it, all that stuff. Like, that's great. What I would suggest that you do, however, is ask your community first. Like, what I did was ask my community what kind of content they wanted to see, but also ask if somebody else is, like, has plenty of time on their hands and they're more than willing, like, sometimes to help you out and do some stuff for you. Like, I had a viewer at some point. I was like, hey man, I'd love to do, I'm good at editing. I'd love to do something. I'm like, sure, dude, like, go ahead. Here's my highlights. Here's the funny moments. And he made a video for me, made a roll of the funny moments that happened in my first year of streaming, put that up on YouTube, and then it's there and people can watch it afterwards and stuff. So try to, like, spend your time where it's more worth it, and also try to use your community as like, your community are not like faceless people that you only see when you're streaming. They're real human beings, and they have, most of them, if depending on what kind of community you try to grow, are more than happy to give you a hand if you need anything. So just not use them, but like realize that these people are also there to help you out. They love your content and stuff, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be like, oh, I'm gonna need this, otherwise you're banned or something. But like more like, you know, like if you really are overwhelmed by stuff, just like raise a hand and be like, please, somebody help me out, and see if somebody answers. That will, you know, people. I found that people on Twitch are, especially the people that I guess in my community, but like people in the type of streamer that I follow, their community as well. Everybody seems to be very helpful. I don't meet a lot of like bad people on Twitch, luckily, I guess for me. But yeah, like people will help you out if you ask for help, or at least they will maybe direct you towards somebody that they know. Right, that can help you out and stuff like that. That happened too. So don't be afraid of like asking for help if you need it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've known a lot of communities who have someone like that who stepped up to help with editing. And it's not just editing. I mean, this is everything in the community. It's sort of similar to moderation. You can have people who do, you know, mods, editors, graphic artists, whatever. A lot of people are quick to help out with that kind of thing if you need help, and do it on the side. So definitely, I like that idea. Just see what your community already is able to do, and if they want to help you out and get involved in the content more.
Yeah.
You also mentioned, you know, you can't really be a top tier Twitch streamer and YouTuber at the same time. There's just by yourself, you can't do that. There's no one out there who does that. Everyone out there who's, you know, both or big on both of those has some sort of team behind them to help them with that. So if you want to grow your YouTube along with your Twitch, you're going to need a team to help you out with that. So like what you said there in terms of using, you know, you just use the highlight tool and export to YouTube, I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly. So when you export to YouTube, there's a thing though, you have the option of exporting right away or chopping it up in 15 minutes increment. Don't do that like ever. It's really a pain because afterwards you have to go into YouTube, put those like 15 minutes, bunch them up together to make it 30 minutes if you want to. And it makes like weird cuts. Sometimes some of these like just don't export properly. Like I've had many issues where like I only have like one half of like a 30-minute that got in and not the other half. And then it's really a nightmare. Just like do your cuts on Twitch using the highlight tool because it's so much easier to use. And then once your cut is done and it's exactly what you want it to be, transfer it to YouTube, use the export as is. It'll gonna export it to YouTube, and from there they have their own editing tool in there. So if you want to tweak the sounds, you want to remove like a copyrighted music and want to try and replace it with something else, like YouTube has all these tools that you can use over there. And so just start your cutting on Twitch, put it on YouTube, and finish whatever you want to do using the YouTube tool. That's the way I've been working so far. I can get like 20 episodes of 30 minutes in an hour on YouTube from Twitch, and that includes also me making the what they call them, the card, like the intro, well, not the intro card, but the thumbnails, exactly. Yeah. So I get these done as well, all of that in an hour, and that's a very efficient use of my time. Like I don't have a lot of time, so this is great. It's working great for me. I would highly suggest you do the same. It's very user friendly. It takes a few minutes, and also what's cool is using that tool instead of there's a way to download your own stuff on your PC using like a third party, I think, somewhere, and then you can like put that and export it yourself on YouTube, like get it yourself in there. Don't do that. It just uses your bandwidth for no reason. Like Twitch does it for you. It uses their stuff. It's out of your hands. You don't have to do anything. It's great. Use that.
Yeah. We actually, so I used to manually edit all the podcasts, like in Adobe Premiere, and then put them on YouTube. Recently, we switched to just doing the same thing for the podcast, just highlighting and pushing to YouTube, because like you lose a little bit of quality, but it's really not that bad. And the time that you save from it is so valuable because like I think, you know, by choosing to do this, I was saving half an hour to an hour of work for each podcast, which is nuts. So definitely recommend that. We do it again with this show, so we can vouch for it. It's a really easy way to just highlight something and pump out content on YouTube. You don't have to put a ton of work into it. And it's like Shino said here, it's just more ways people can find you, or more content you can offer to your viewers, subscribers, etc. So definitely recommend that if you want to get started on YouTube.
I got another suggestion to people. Like if you're not good with Photoshop, I'm garbage at anything that has to do with Photoshop or you know, graphic design or anything like that. I'm the worst. So what I would suggest that you do is, instead of, you know, running around and asking people for help for that specific thing, because it's very easy to do without doing that, and it looks professional and looks great. Go to a website called Canva. What you do in there is you can set up a brand for yourself, so your own brand. So you can tell them like, oh, this is the color for my brand, this is the font I'm using for my brand, and all that stuff. Canva.com, exactly. So you go in there, you set up your brand, you open an account, set up your brand, set up your stuff. You can even import your own font and all that stuff in there. So if you have like a crazy font you found online and you love it, you just put it in there. Then you go into creating a design, and they have all these pre-made templates that looks fantastic. Very little work to do. I picked one of those. And if you guys go into anything that I do, like my collections on my YouTube, you'll see those same that same template. I use one template and I just iterate on it with different games that I play. But you can import any image, you just drag and drop into the frame, and you can just like move them around. You can just put anything you want, and you just like poop them out like super rapidly. Looks great. Doesn't require a lot of time. Like I said, I can do like 20 of them like super rapidly. Very, very easy to do. And you just like, it just saves you so much time. If you're not into using Photoshop and stuff, that's a very good way to just get your stuff done quickly, and it looks good. It looks professional.
Awesome. I love it. I'm going to add it into the show notes too. If you guys are listening to this podcast after the fact, added a little marker via the highlight system here, which is nice.
Yeah, there you go.
All the cool things they added. So, okay, we are going to wrap up here the main discussion and get into Twitch chat really quickly. My last question for you is, if you were to give one piece of advice to a brand new Twitch streamer about anything, what would you tell that person?
Oh God, that's almost like a trick question. Don't look at your numbers. Do not, like, when you're live, never look at your numbers. It will drive you up a wall. It will make you crazy. You will think you're worthless. Great days are going to be great. They're going to be fantastic. But bad days, man, you're gonna die inside. Like I've had bad days where like I was like, okay, well that's it. Like I'm no good. Like I'm not gonna stop streaming. There's no reason to continue this. And especially with I'm dealing with depression in real life. I've been dealing with depressions for 3 years. And so having that on top of it was just a nightmare. Like Twitch is supposed to be my escape from like real life pressure and stuff, and just like adding that on top of it was just, don't do it. So what I do is hide your stuff while you're streaming. Don't look at numbers. Treat every single viewer as if it was like 1,000 viewers. Like your show is thousands of viewers every single second of your show. When the show ends, then look at your number. Then look at what happened. Oh, I had a lot of people when I was playing that game, or I had, you know, much less people playing that game, or when I was talking about this, like I saw a drop or something, and then readjust based on that on your next stream. Don't do it during your one stream that you're doing. You'll die. You will die.
I like that a lot. That is something that I've heard from a lot of people. Even like really big streamers have said this. So I mean, it works for people. If the numbers really get to you, you know, your stream is not defined just by your numbers in terms of people watching, and there's a lot more to consider, and there are bad days, etc. So definitely good advice there. Don't live and die by the numbers. So, okay, we're going to get into viewer questions now, guys. If you have a question for ShinoSeven or myself about streaming, what we talked about today, or anything really, now's the time to ask. Just tag me in the chat, please, so I see it, at GreenChord or at ShinoSeven, and we'll get into these. First one I see is from RisB4U. Cool name. It says, other than the video playlist on YouTube for your community, Has YouTube brought any other benefits? For example, new followers, advice from other influencers or streamers, etc. So have you seen other benefits from YouTube?
Yeah, actually, I've had people ask me questions there for questions for like, oh, like, you did that kind of stuff in the game, like how do you do it, or like I don't get like that kind of stuff. So those people, I'm like, okay, sure, like I'll explain to you exactly what I did in game and stuff. And those people ended up on my stream the next day or 2 days later, and they ended up like following me on Twitch and stuff. So that was great. Also, I have a lot of suggestions on my YouTube videos. Like people will go into a YouTube video, they'll be watching and they're like, oh, that'd be great if you played that game, or that'd be great if you could make a video about, I had that recently. Can you make a video about your UI setup for World of Warcraft, for example? So I did one. Like at the start of a stream, I just explained all my UI, and I took like 30 minutes at the start of the stream and explained all of that. Then I put that on YouTube as a separate video, and people were happy and they were watching it and stuff. So it's very grand, like very, very slow. Like it's not like, don't think it's going to be like this major thing that's going to help you out and stuff, because YouTube is a really hard market to break into. Yeah. There's a lot of people that do Let's Play already, and they do it very well. And then there's all the other streamers who are doing the same thing as I am, which is like post that as a archive of their own stuff. Just typing my name on Twitch doesn't necessarily bring me as a first video. Like that's how crazy it is. Like it's really hard to find my stuff, even if you're looking for it. I can't even imagine, like the amount of different people that are uploading stuff in there is just nuts. It's crazy. Don't think it's gonna like it's not gonna work if you think that this is gonna be like this major way to grow a channel. Like use it as an archive, iterate on it, and then with time, slowly but surely, people are gonna start flooding to your channel like slowly, and then eventually they'll wind up on your Twitch. And that's what I do too, is I every single video there's like multiple mentions everywhere. Like if you want to talk to me, go on Twitch. Just like I'm directing them directly to my Twitch channel. Like somebody on Twitch that wants to break into YouTube, like you said before, like there's no way to do both well. Right. Like you have to focus on something. Don't think for a minute that breaking into YouTube is easy. It's as hard as breaking onto Twitch, like if not harder, because it's been there for longer. Right. So yeah.
But you do get some benefits occasionally from.
Occasionally, yes.
Yeah, that's good to hear though. Okay, so thanks for the question. Risby for you, sounds like a frisbee. Arctic has a question. He said, ShinoSeven, I recently tried to jump into using both YouTube and the Twitch systems for VODs, but they have different end screens, so I got focusing on trying to make one that fit both YouTube with its ending videos and Twitch without it. The Twitch one was really empty. Do end screens really matter? It's an interesting topic. Do you use these on your own videos?
I do not use these on my own videos. They do matter. A lot of like most YouTubers will use end screens because they, you can have a link that directly to your Twitch if you want to. You can have a link that directs to the next video. You can have like this sweet music in the background with like animations and stuff on there. I don't use them, and I should. It just takes even more time of the limited time that I have, so I chose not to. For now, if ever I have time to do it, I would try to do it. That's a very good question though about the Twitch thing. Like that's a good point. I think I'm gonna try and contact the person that interviewed me like for the Twitch systems, because for the VODs, because honestly I think having the possibility of making like an actual good ending screen for Twitch and having that maybe stick around if you try to export it, I think that would like blow my mind. It would make it so much easier to even get into that. So yeah, I'm taking good note of that. I'll try and contact them and see if I can get an answer for you or something. But yeah, definitely. I think if you can make it work, try to, because it's really important. But if you don't have the time, don't sweat it.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool to see something like that on Twitch's end too. That seems like there's a lot of potential there. I'll also say on this topic for myself. So I have a lot of videos that we make on YouTube. where you can't really fit an end screen in very nicely with like trying to put the sub button or, you know, video or playlist up there. So I would quickly say on this, like, don't be afraid to make it look ugly, if that makes sense. Like, even if you don't have a scene that really makes it great, like sometimes I'll literally put stuff like kind of over people's like bodies or faces, because like, let's say it's a podcast like this or something, for example. Sometimes I'll just go ahead and put the sub button like in the middle of the screen, even though it's covering stuff, just I want to have it there. And by that time, people aren't really going to be sad for like the last 10 seconds that someone's face is covered. So that's my advice on that. But like Shino said, like on the scale of everything you could do with the video, end screens aren't that important. And I think people are so used to them now that they're not going to make a huge difference. But like technically, if you want the most optimized video,
exactly.
Yeah, it's part of those. So good question though. I like that one a lot. We got about 7 or 10 minutes here left, guys. So get those questions in if you want them answered. I want to circle back around because you mentioned briefly in the last question that you did a video on Twitch, like kind of with the intent to put it on YouTube from the start, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen any other examples of that or done that yourself? Like ways to, like while you're streaming, also be making something that works really well on YouTube?
I've seen other streamers do it. I tried even doing it myself for like a few different things. A thing that people will ask me a lot is, what is your opinion on the game? So, you know, like, oh, that game, you played it. How'd you like it? Right? I get that question like all the time. So I started thinking, oh, you know what? Maybe I could do reviews, like a review thing. But trying to break into YouTube as a reviewer of games is even harder. They have those crazy edits, and they, you know, like, and you have so much competition, and you have like all these great reviewers already, like Angry Joe, who has like this entire shtick as reviews. So what I started doing is I saw another streamer doing it, Cold Carnage, fantastic streamer, freaking love him, massive streamer. And he does these things where like and those are also with the intent of being on YouTube right off the bat. He starts a stream or ends a stream with like, okay, now we're going to talk about that specific game for a while. And then he just like puts the game like in the background or something. And then he talks about it, and it's like his Twitch chat is on the screen. So we'll just like talk about the game, how he felt about it, what kind of score he would give it and stuff. And at the beginning of the video, he's like, okay, hi, YouTube. And like he starts it as if it was the first thing he started talking about, so that it doesn't look weird to a YouTuber that just goes in and click on this video and be like, oh, that's kind of weird. It's like mid-conversation. Like it starts weirdly. So he does it like, hey, guys, so, you know, Cold Carnage, you know, we're going to talk about that game, whatever. And then he does his thing. And as soon as he's done, he says like a goodbye or something. But all of that stuff he's still live on Twitch, you know. So he takes like a few seconds of him saying nothing, then he starts his video, and then he ends it with a few seconds of him saying nothing, so that it's easier for him to cut it up afterwards, and then he continues the stream or whatever he was doing live. So that's something you can think of. Like there's creative ways for you to be able. You can even set scene in OBS. Like it's kind of like editing in real life. So you can just like edit your video in real life, and then even put like you know, clips of yourself and stuff if you want to. Like there's creative ways you can work around that, make a video for YouTube right off the bat, but doing it through your streaming. It's there's ways to do it. It's possible, and it looks great. It doesn't look funky. If you want to try it, I would suggest it, because it works great for me too. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some really cool ways to do it. What you just mentioned is a thing that I see a lot. Like people just, you know, they set their own scene and just do a rant about something to the camera. That's really good. Sidebuns in the chat mentioned the H3 podcast. Same thing. Like podcasts in general are really good for that. They're interesting both in the moment and then also afterwards. I've also seen some examples where someone will do like a patch notes rundown, like as it hits. So let's say like you play, like I play a lot of League of Legends, right? So let's say a patch comes out one day. You would go on stream and live, like run down your thoughts on that patch. And then that also makes a good video for people who want to check it out like later that week, because it's still very relevant. So that's a good example. And the last one is like a game commentary. So let's say like, similar to the Cold Carnage example, like you start a video, hey YouTube, whatever, and you're talking about what you're doing in the game for however long that is, if it's like a certain match or a set of matches, and then like you stop after a certain amount, and then that's a perfect thing to put on YouTube too. So these are all really good ways that you can be creating YouTube content at the same time that you're streaming and make it interesting on both platforms at the same time. So definitely consider that stuff. Anyway, love that. Efficiency, man. As a Twitch streamer, you need it.
You need it. Every time you can squeeze a few extra minutes of work into something, you do it. Like if you can shave minutes of work, please consider using it, because it at first it might not look like it, but it compounds after a while. Like you want those extra few minutes.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, I'll give you guys like another 2 minutes for any questions that the chat has about this or streaming for Shino. I'll wrap it up. My last kind of question for you from myself is, do you have any sort of goals or plans for your channel for the rest of this year? I know it's October now. But
well, yeah. So October, obviously, I'm doing a horror month, like basically every streamer under the sun is doing right now. There's that. There's a few games I want to try and push in before the end of the year that I would love to get into. Obviously, there's like, you know, sub goals or follow goals and all that stuff. Like we just smashed 50 subs recently, so I would love to get like to 75 maybe if I can before the end of the year, depending on how big the drop is going to be from September. And then that's pretty much it. Like I used to set myself big goals for like follower and stuff, but those goals and that whole shtick worked for my first year of streaming. Now that Twitch has the affiliate thing, doesn't work anymore. Doesn't matter. You could be partnered with 200 followers. It really doesn't matter. Like what matters is the number of viewers you have live. So those kind of goals of follower goals and stuff, like I kind of put them on the side and try to go into like more specific things to growth, to push me towards partnership. So yeah, that's what I'm working on right now for the end of the year, and we'll see what January brings. Like we'll see like how I end the year based on my expectations and where I want it to be, and then what kind of goal I can set myself for the next year and stuff. But yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm excited to see the October stuff. I know we have at least one other streamer doing that as well. I love going around the streams, just seeing all the scary games being played.
Yeah. So Anatlas is doing that right now. She's doing Horror Month. So she's playing a bunch of different things too and stuff. So yeah, definitely, guys, if you like horror games, drop by my stream and drop by other TRUgaming family members. We'll love to have you, and it's scary games are a lot more fun with friends, with people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Last question I see here that we'll kind of end the podcast on. Sayavon said, how did that shift of followers versus viewers affect what you did for your streams? So when you changed your goal from being follower centric to, you know, concurrent viewer centric, what did you change?
So when it was follower thing, there are ways, like cheap ways to make your growing followers and stuff. Like, oh, I'm gonna have a giveaway only targeted towards people that follow the channel or whatever, and it's gonna be on whatever date or something. Essentially what I did is number of viewers does not translate into number of followers. People will watch your stream but not necessarily follow. A lot of people follow a lot of people, and it just comes to the point where even followers is kind of stupid, because like when I click on my number of streams that I followed, it's just like there's so many of them now. I can't even, like, I don't even know where to click anymore. There's too many people to watch. It's just like it's getting ridiculous. So what I did instead is I looked into like my concurrent viewership, what kind of game I was playing at that time, what worked, what didn't work, what kind of what was my mood for that specific day, like how was I interacting with viewers in stream and stuff, and that I applied for my next stream, and then the one after that, and the one after that, and I tried to grow it that way. So, for example, that's a personal example, but when I play CRPGs, lots of people come and watch for whatever reason. Like I think my viewership loves CRPGs or love hearing me read stuff, I guess. Huh. So I try to once in a while squeeze a CRPG in between other games that I really want to play, just to get that boost again of like viewership and stuff, so that these people will stay and then they'll watch the next game that I play, and then I can have like that same group again follow to the next CRPG. And and all that stuff. So you can do that. For followers, what I used to do before, like I use those cheap gimmicks, unfortunately, of making like giveaways and like, oh, like if I reach whatever number of followers tonight, I'll drink a shot, or like all that stuff. That stuff just went out the window. I don't do that anymore. There's no I know a lot of streamers still do it. Like, oh, like if you follow me, like I'll put your name on a sticker or something behind me or whatever. I don't do that. Also, a thing that I saw that drives followers or new follows was that having the name of the follower somewhere on screen, like the new follower, the name appears somewhere. I don't do that. My stream is very, very almost blank. Like it's only me. There's nothing on screen except me. The reason for that is I like to have the center stage be the game. I don't like my screen being cluttered and stuff. Also, it's better for YouTube because people don't want to see like a bunch of like different shit all around your screen and stuff. They want to see the game. So I removed that, so that also helped with lowering my number of followers. Like a lot of I don't get as many followers now because of that, but I do get I do get more subs now though. Like I think
viewers probably.
And viewers, yeah, I do get a lot more viewers. So yeah, it really depends. Like I can't give you an example of what will not work for yourself. You have to be able to look at what you're doing and be able to decide for yourself. But I would say look at other streamers that inspire you and try to see what makes whatever they're doing work, and try to see how you can either apply that to yourself or find an iteration of that would be unique to you and then would work.
Yeah, I think even what you suggested there is a good guideline for people. You shifted away from doing gimmicks like giveaways and name on screen or like little things that make people follow to, okay, let me look back at my content, what worked, what didn't. Like more, you took a closer look at like what you were doing and what was working, what was being well received, and what could be better. Like that, I think, is the crux of how you grow a stream, really. So I think you made the right choice there to shift to those numbers. That it's great that Twitch has made them more meaningful now. They've that if you want to get partnered, you have to have a concurrent viewership number. Like followers don't matter, like you said. So it's good that they're rewarding that, and I think it just makes sense if you want to grow the best channel that you look at your content and make sure you're making the best content you can make. So yeah,
there's a lot of people doing like follow for follow is bullshit. Like don't get into that. There's no reason for it. You want to have the concurrent viewership. That's your main goal. So focus on that. That's what's most important.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, that's all the questions I think we have today. So thank you, Shino, for being on. Is there anything you want to say to people in terms of where they can find you or anything else you want to share?
Sure. Yeah. You can find me on twitch.tv/ShinoSeven, obviously. You can also look me up on YouTube. Sadly, I'm not a big enough YouTuber that I have my own URL thing. So like you can't really find me by typing YouTube/ShinoSeven. So just look me up in there or go into my channel under my stream, this button for YouTube. Also, you can find me on Twitter. I tweet a lot at Shino_7. And I'm also on Facebook at ShinoSeven. So you can find me there too.
Sweet. Well, thank you for being on, dude. If you guys are listening to this after, again, all the links are in the description. So go check them out. Drop them some love, please. If you guys are watching live, we will be live again tomorrow, Friday, 11 a.m. for Phone In Friday. So please come out to that. And yeah, hope you guys have a good rest of the day. We will see you tomorrow for more of the podcast. Until then, see you later. Adios.
See you guys.